I'll firstly start with the big three consulting firms known as MBB. If you are someone who has started exploring this strategy consulting journey, you might have come across this name for sure. These are the companies McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, which is Boston Consulting Group. These are undisputedly the strategy consulting market leaders today, and they are specifically looking into the domains where the strategy work happens. Now, what that means to a layman or a person who's still figuring out his career is, usually you are a person who usually skills up on one or particular skill set. It could be related to coding, it could be related to some technical skills. But when we talk about industry as a whole or a client as a whole, they need consultants to come up and help them with their problems. Those problems could be, let's say there is a client who is already doing good in one market segment but wants to enter another market segment, or there could be a person who is facing any profitability issues or market growth issues. For them, these can hire some consultants so that they can do the strategy work, which includes the research work, not limited to just research, but also the technical aspects of how or what the core functioning areas of the world or how the domain of their particular scalable industry is looking like, doing that data driven research and getting some insight so that how can they make more profit, how can they actually enter the industry, how can they make big margins despite being a newcomer in the market, or if they are already in the market, what is leading to their profitability issues. Maybe they are not able to grow as at a rapid scale which they were doing earlier. It could be related to some external factors as well. It could also be related to some internal factors. So that's where you as a person in strategy and management consulting, as an analyst, as a consultant or a team, steps up, and then you work with these clients to understand what their problem is, how you can add quality to their domains or their industry, and then they can actually go from A to B where they can earn either more profit or can make more business, and depending on that, then you get your variable contract as to how a person or how a company is helping the profitability. Now, after the MBBs or the big three consulting firms, then comes the big four consulting firms. Again, you might have heard this term, but I'm also going to break down this into the two particular parts which people fail to realize. When we talk about the big four, we obviously talk about Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and EY. But what people do not realize is these big four companies are also having their particular strategy arms, which are Monitor Deloitte, EY Parthenon, Strategy and of the PwC, and as well as KPMG Strategy. So these four strategic arms are particularly focused on the strategic works as the MBB companies are doing as well, and they help the clients to build their profitability, their growth planning, their digital strategy, their market and acquisition strategy or competitive strategy, whatever is required in the market for them to grow. And usually when a strategy work is done, a solution is given by a consultant or the group of companies to these industry sector leaders that you can do these following steps to ensure that you are going from again point A to point B where your profitability or your market cap or your growth is increasing on a regular or whatever levels. So when you talk about those growth rates, again the big four consulting practices such as Deloitte, PwC, EY, and KPMG, they are doing the technical work as well. These are known for their technical consulting works because they are having a different kinds of business offerings which are not only limited to the strategic work but also the consulting work or the technical consulting work. Now what that means is, you might have again heard of the growing companies like Accenture Strategy and Accenture Consulting as well. So what's the difference here is, whenever a company does strategy work, they will give you in bullet points or maybe in some points what is the work that needs to be done. Now a company, depending on their margins or their budget, they will then hire consulting companies or technical consulting firms or companies on a contract basis so that they can actually do that particular work which has been decided by a strategy consultant to gain that profitability. Now they can either go to big fours or there are different consulting firms as well for that matter. One simple example of it could be, let's say a company has been operating on legacy systems and now it's doing either migration or some cloud transformation or let's say some kind of technical transformation work. Then they'll obviously need a team or a team of people who can then drive their strategy and grow towards that particular site, and then they can actually utilize those resources to become the market or industry leaders, which was their first initial thought. And after that, I would also like to share, there are different types of technical consulting companies which are really going in the market, which can you also look forward to if you are someone who is also interested on the technical aspects of the work. It could be IBM Consulting, Capgemini, Invent, Infosys Consulting, also Cognizant Business Consulting, or TCS Consulting. Now, depending on the quality, as I take the further names, these you are entering into the niche domain. Here, not only the strategy work is happening, but a majority of the work is related to technical consulting. So now you will be entering more into the technical work or the service consulting line work, whereas you are providing services to a company on a technical basis. It could be related to coding, it could be related to migration, cloud security, cyber security, and domains such like that, so that the company which is hiring you on a contract basis, you are adding value to them. Now comes another type of consulting which is also very good and people have very less idea about it, which is HR and organizational consulting. Now people usually think that in human resources only hiring or things related to the compensation part or the people management aspect is there. Yes, it is there, but today in the industry HR work is also growing. There are big needs of companies so that they can hire people for HR consulting work. If they can hire people for change management work, for organizational development work, because there are lots of mergers happening. There are a lot of companies, maybe in developed country or even in developing countries, who are not only just going through mergers and acquisitions, but are already going through let's say a new market line, or they are already launching different kinds of products which are creating different verticals or sub practices within their own companies. For them, they need to plan this organizational development thing efficiently. Otherwise, what will happen in the long term is they will not be able to sustain over a long time, and that's where the HR consulting works coming. And if you're someone who's interested on the HR side of things, these are the companies for you to look forward to, which are Mercer, Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry is a really good growing company when it comes to the organizational development work. And there is also Aon Hewitt, which you can search more about on the Google. Then there comes in different kinds of consulting, which is the financial advisory. Now, when we talk about different consulting firms, many a times what happens is people so think that if they are having a strong technical background or engineering background or an MBA background, only they can enter into these fields. But no, this is the misconception which I want to clear and add value to your career by saying that if you're a person who is in a commerce background and who has very good financial knowledge, has completed CA or CFA levels, then these are the companies for you to look forward to, such as Big Four, which is again Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and EY, which are the industry leaders when it comes to the financial advisory, when it comes to the audit part, when it comes to the different examples of these is post-merger and integration, debt restructuring of the whole company. Even within post-merger integration work, there is performance turnaround of the whole company, how it will look like, how the nature of job, let's say, for people will change. And it could also be not just limited to this work, but also anything and everything which related to the financial aspects of the company. How will it grow, how the profitability work. And if you are that person who has that CA or CFA level knowledge, you can not only be a good part of this company, you can actually have a very good career growth, because people with a strong skill set is something which they have, like, which they thrive in this category, is what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so maybe one of the last factors which we need to consider is impact and social sector consulting. So now, guys, when we talk about business problems in the business world, we are not just talking about the profitability or business side of things every time. There is a different aspect when it comes to the climate changes or the sustainability impact which a company, which a firm is having on the environment. Now, for that kind of work or social sector consulting kind of work, there are again different companies like Delberg, the Brisbane Group, even Satwa, which they have a niche kind of work. It could be related to education and strategy, it could be related to development of the social work or economics, it could also be related to healthcare delivery practices. And then these consulting firms, they come in and then they drive the social change. They are the people who drive the corporate social responsibility as well. So if you are this person who is interested in this field, you can actually explore about these companies as well. And yeah, last of the strategy firms also include the boutique strategy firms. Now what that means is, many times, guys, there are a niche particular type of work which happens, and for that a company is having a mastery. The best example of that is ZS Associates. This is a company which hires on all the grounds, maybe if you are an engineering background or a commerce background or even an MBA background, and they were doing really good when it comes to the healthcare or the pharma sector. Now I think they have grown in different segments as well. But the boutique in itself means is these are the companies or group of companies which are focusing on the market niche, and then they are trying to create value so that you as a client can come to them and grow in that particular field, and they are the master of that particular field. What are the type of companies which come into that is LEK Consulting, Roland Berger, Oliver Wyman, and there are many more, as I said, about ZS as well. Now here what I would like to highlight is LEK Consulting, Oliver Wyman. These are also the group of consulting companies or firms which are growing on a very rapid scale, and they are also doing different kinds of market work. One such company which I forgot was Alvarez and Marcel, also known as A&M. Now these are the company, or maybe Aon Consulting. These are also growing consulting firms. Now why I'm sharing so much about the different companies or the nature of work they do is, when I started my work as an analyst in Deloitte, and now that I have become a consultant, I got to know about these industries over the 2.5 years. But if you are a person who is starting your career journey and is looking forward to the strategy and management consulting world, what you need to focus is on what your nature of work would look like in these companies, what are the key things which you are interested in, so that your career trajectory looks very well and you are very well informed as to how you will make increase in this career. For example, obviously the strategy consulting part or the MBB or Big Fours are the companies which people look forward to. But if you are someone, let's say, who is really interested in the healthcare industry, you might be someone who might have a biotechnology background, or there are even fields like biotechnology engineering, and if you're coming from them and if you're interested towards these fields, then instead of going to the over competitive market where already a lot of competition is there, you can then focus on these different kinds of boutique consulting firms, and then there your trajectory could really thrive and you can become a subject matter expert in the next 8 to 10 years to come. I hope you're able to understand what I'm trying to say here in terms of the nature of work, so that it helps you to find your particular area of interest, because at the end of the day, this is what matters. Because in these consulting firms or whichever companies which we talked about, the work-life balance can sometimes lead to be very hectic. It could be 8 to 10 hours of work on times of high quality deliverables. At that point of time, what keeps you going in these firms or in these companies is whether you are really interested in your work or not, because the learning curve is really good, guys. This is something which I can say without a doubt, because I have been working in Deloitte and I'm a consultant right now. The amount of learning which you get, the amount of problem solving skill set which you get, the structured thinking, how to approach a problem when you work directly with managers, senior managers, even at times with managing directors or partners, you learn how to solve a business problem on a large scale level, or how the world of the business side looks like, so that when you are doing your technical or one particular type of work, you also know how the industry works, and then that adds value to your resume or your career in the long run when you particularly become a subject matter expert in your particular field. So with that, I am just checking my notes if we have left out on something. Turns out no. So we have covered all the important aspects, guys, and again, these are all the experiences which I have seen in my career journey within Deloitte. So I would like to share more in the next video. I would also like to focus if we can go from the nature of work as to the specializations or the niche particular kind of work as to which these consulting firms are doing, and then we can also focus on how your salary range or the career trajectory or your what's the hiring journey looks like, so that you can actually become part of these firms, and what are the key aspects to look at. So for that, please stay tuned to my channel. And yeah, if you appreciate my content, I would just like to share, guys, I am new to YouTube, so please like, comment and share, because your comment and your feedback will go a long way. It will help me to create better quality and better value content as to what you really need, and that will also help me not only to grow on YouTube but to add more value to the audience which I'm engaging with. So with that, I'm gonna say bye to you. I hope I'll be seeing you in the next video. Until then, please take care. Bye.